Now you have learned the 5 A's of tobacco cessation, how to assess a patient's readiness to quit, and how to use the 5 R's in case the patient needs to be motivated to quit. Let us go into 4 final things you have to bear in mind during cessation counseling. Remember to establish the relevance of your quit advice by describing to the patient how smoking affects their specific health condition. During Project QTI, we have found that patients are very much interested in knowing how tobacco affects their different organs and the physiological systems, how it leads to certain symptoms and complications in the body, and how the nicotine in the cigarettes reduces the medicine effectiveness. Having an image leads patients to think more about quitting. Use of visuals and analogies can make a big difference. Whenever possible, try to help the patient to visualize how smoking is affecting their illness or an illness experienced by their family members. Use pictures or analogies to explain to patients in ways that they can imagine. For example, you could say that heart is a pump, or that the lungs, kidney or liver are filters, or that the vascular system are pipes which get clogged and reduce in size due to the deposition of residue and fat during smoking due to the effect of nicotine. When these blood vessels or pipes get narrowed, it will increase the pressure within the pump and also reduce the nutrients and oxygens going to the body tissues. Also, when there is a clogging of the residue within the filters, it prevents the removal of toxins from the body. Thus, these kind of images and analogies help patients to understand the effect of tobacco on the heart, lungs, kidney or the vascular system. Secondly, many patients have mixed feelings and doubts about quitting smoking. Ambivalence offers doctors a chance to motivate a patient and tip the balance in favor of a quit. Illness is often a time of ambivalence and as such is a teachable moment. Most patients see both benefits and losses in the process of quitting. It is important for us to show them that the benefits outweigh the losses in terms of what is most important to them in their life. For example, we have to present the behavior change as gaining something positive rather than losing a habit or something which gave them pleasure before. For example, it could be gaining one's health, or it could be the ability to go and work harder, or the ability to stand up as a role model before the children, and so on.
I am a social scientist by profession. As a trained counselor in cessation counseling, I have to deal many patients with the habit of smoking in the community. The training I got in cessation counseling helps me a lot to deal patients who fails to quit, and also the person suffers withdrawal symptoms, and also the person still continues smoking even after 2-3 sessions.
Thirdly, negotiate action. Always explore what actions a person feels they can take towards quitting and see as doable. Find a concrete step they can take as movement in the right direction. First, help the patients to identify what the step might look like and then get them to set the plan in motion. If there is no immediate quit, at least try to cut down on the cigarettes as a first step towards quitting. Sit with the patient and try to identify which cigarettes they can give up and what they will do instead of smoking. These kind of planning with the patients will help them to increase their self-efficacy. Fourthly, always roll with resistance. If you're confronted by a patient who's reluctant to quit or who challenges you about the need to quit, please do not dismiss or scold that patient, or else you will lose the chance to talk further about smoking in future. Use the momentum of his argument to lead him to a different possible conclusion. Smoking is a part of our culture. If a patient suggests to you that smoking and the exchange of cigarette among friends is an important part of our culture, you can counter this by asking them that in our culture, it's a man's responsibility to look after the welfare of his wife, children and parents. Isn't that of a greater cultural value? If you fall sick from smoking, how will you fulfill your family responsibilities? Another example we see is that I have seen so many old people smoking for years. How can you say that smoking is so harmful? There, you could counter it by saying that those could be the lucky ones. There are so many old people who are critically ill or have died because of this habit. These are seen by doctors like myself on a daily basis. Doctor, we all die one day and die of something. To this you could say, yes, that's true. But the question is, what kind of death do you want? Do you want a slow and painful death with much suffering or an easy death? Most of the people who have diseases due to smoking do not die quickly. They have slow and painful suffering like breathing problems or heart diseases, or they could have complications of diabetes like gangrene or amputation of foot, or cancers, or they could even have a bedridden life due to stroke. Here, not only the person suffers, but also the family who lives with them.
As a cardiologist by profession, it was one of the very useful things that happened to me to have participated in this Quit Tobacco International project. As a budding doctor who learned science initially, I initially thought that somebody who continues to smoke, he should suffer its consequences. But by taking part in this project, I learned the sociological aspects, the behavioral and cultural aspects, which actually forces him to continue this habit, and the importance of helping him to come out of this habit step by step. So this behavioral intervention trained me actually into the real conflict between the industry, which has been there for centuries, doing tobacco cultivation, advertising it and making it a popular subject. And on the other hand, the persons who got habituated to it slowly moved into the various diseases, starting from heart disease, diabetes and cancers, and suffering sociological as well as financial suffering coming out of this. So then by understanding what makes them quit, because there are certain opportunities for them quit, they have a desire to quit and they have a financial motivation to quit, and slowly by highlighting these aspects, I could bring more than 80% of the patients from this habit. So this initial training is behavioral intervention for quitting tobacco helped me a lot to understand the human psychology and what is to be done to help them to come out of these vices which they have learned. And as one of the first persons who got certified in this program, I am extremely happy, and I personally feel this is one field which all health professionals should learn. This not only helps them to deal with their family, society and patient, it is one of the best motivational learnings they can ever have.